you going to get more dogs? I would love to get another dog, but in reality our house is too small for a third dog. So new house, then a third. I'd really like to stay within the hound family. We always said we would get an Italian Greyhound, but I've heard from multiple sources that they can be quite nasty. So I think we'd probably actually end up getting a retired Greyhound, or the dream is an Irish Wolfhound. I'd love one, but they are huge, so we would need a much bigger house. So once we have a bigger house, there will be a third dog. How did you get Darwin and Gilly? Darwin was a rescue dog. He had a hideous backstory. We were kind of missold him. Basically, we had decided that we would want a whippet. I've always grown up with dogs. John has never had a real pet before, but we decided we would like a whippet, but we wanted to rescue one. We didn't want to buy one, even though from rescue centres you still pay a lot of money. It was more the ethical reason of adoption. So yes, we looked high and low for a whippet in a rescue centre in Cornwall and Devon, couldn't find one. And then we looked in Somerset and there was a picture of Darwin, and he wasn't called Darwin then, we chose that name, and he looked beautiful and he looked a bit scared, and there was a horrendous backstory that came with him. He'd been in the kennels for 6 months, nobody wanted him. Basically his previous owner was horrible to him. He had lots of issues. I've spoke about it in vlogs in the past, but basically when we got Darwin, he was scared of everything, including a lead. He had clearly been beaten and mistreated. There was also issues surrounding food. So yeah, he was going to take a lot of work, which put people off when they went to see him. He's also petrified of other dogs, because of stuff that had happened to him in his past, and obviously he was locked in a row of kennels with other dogs, so he was scared and he was barking and he seemed aggressive. Anyway, we drove all the way to Somerset, which is like, I think we drove like 4 hours to go and see him, and we got there and they brought him out to see us, and it was Darwin. Darwin is not a whippet, even though on the website it said he was a whippet. When I rang up the shelter they told me he was a whippet. Darwin is a lurcher. Whippets, like Darwin is taller than Gilly, and whippets are like half the weight that Gilly is. There's definitely whippet in Darwin, but he's mostly greyhound. But that was it. The moment I saw him, I loved him. And yeah, we then, I think it was like a week later, people from the charity came down and did the house check, and they brought him with him. They were so sure that they'd seen the connection that we had made with him when we were there, and obviously nobody else wanted him, which breaks my heart because he's such a lovely dog. They were willing to take a risk on us, I suppose, because we were prepared to take a risk on him. And yes, that's how we got Darwin. That was back in 2011. And then in 2013, we really wanted to get Darwin a brother because he has so many issues with other dogs, but he bonded really well with our friend's whippet, and also whenever we'd done a greyhound walk, he'd got on great with all the other hounds. So we knew if we found the right hound, you know, Darwin would have a friend, whereas like if we just take him for a normal walk, if he sees any other dog that isn't a hound, he goes ballistic because he's scared. So again, the local rescue centres were a bust. There were nothing that was suitable to be placed with Darwin. So we tried the local greyhound centre. They're like retired greyhounds. They wouldn't allow us to have a boy. I've only ever had male dogs. I've never had a bitch. But they wouldn't let us have a boy because Darwin is aggressive. But they said we could have a girl. So we then went back for a second appointment and we took Darwin, and the plan was Darwin was going to pick the girl, and the girl that he liked the most, the girl that he got on the best with, was the greyhound that we were going to have. Unfortunately, Darwin liked them both a little too much. There was a lot of sexy time in that field that day, and we asked the greyhound rescue place, is that normal? And they were like, no, that's not normal, because Darwin's been fixed. All rescue animals in this country are fixed before you can adopt them, and the greyhound, you know, the greyhounds were fixed, so we couldn't have made any puppies. But I just didn't like the idea of Darwin thinking we were bringing home. We were seeing it that we were bringing Darwin a sister, and he thought he was getting some bum chicka wawa. And I didn't really feel right kind of having this, you just turned yourself off, I don't know how much footage you've lost. I'm going to start with a bit where we got Gilly from. Yes, so John found a picture of these puppies for sale in the local paper. He brought it home, he showed me the picture, he's like, I only want it if we can have that one, which was Gilly, because he was beautiful. Obviously from the picture, we didn't even know if that was a boy or a girl, but I said, well, we're having a boy, because that's what I work with, that's what I know. So he rang them up, and they were like, yes, that one is still available, yes, it is a boy, however, we've got lots of viewings today, and they're on first come, first served basis. So, jumped in the car, drove there, it was only like 20 minutes away, got there, and like they let us in, and they were like, there's only one left, lots of people have collected them. Like, oh my god. And then lo and behold, Gilly comes running up to me, jumps up to me, and there's like, how have they not taken Gilly? He was like, all of his siblings were cute, but obviously because of Gilly's markings, especially as a puppy, he's beautiful now, but as a puppy, because he had this wild fluff, it was like, how did no one take him? I think maybe because he was a bit boisterous, might have been the reason. And yeah, and that was it. We took him. We bought him there and then. He was the last one. His mother was beautiful. And we brought him home. Darwin sulked for about a year. And yeah, Gilly was actually, he's a very boisterous dog, but yeah, like I house trained him in a week. I literally phoned my boss because we hadn't planned to do it. I texted my boss on the Sunday and said, we've just got a dog, can I work from home for the next week? And luckily he said yes. And literally by the Thursday, I think he was fully house trained. No more accidents, apart from, he's had like 2 accidents since then, but both times he'd been poorly, so yes, that is the story of Darwin and Gilly. Do you like fairgrounds such as fairgrounds like roller coasters and such? Yeah, I do. Me and my friend Tamsin used to go quite a lot. We used to go to Alton Towers, which is a really big drive from Cornwall. I like controlled fear. Like, I like zombie films and horror films and roller coasters, things where you can't get hurt but you're scared. I like that. As I said, it's controlled fear. But John is petrified of anything like roller coasters and rides. He doesn't like heights or anything. My neighbours just started making a lot of noise. So yeah, so it's not something that we do because John doesn't like it, but I do. Are you planning a summer holiday this year? Because I know you love Egypt, but with all the bad stuff happening over there, would you still go, or would you go elsewhere? Myself and John, our dream holiday at the moment is to go to Dallas, but it is very expensive, like very expensive. So it's not really realistic for this year, but we're still kind of trying to work out the finances of it to see if it is. My bum's gone to sleep. I would have no problem with going back to Hurghada, which is the part of Egypt that we've been three times before. My reason behind that is, yes, there was an ISIS attack in Hurghada. It was literally 3 hotels up from where we stayed last September. But the biggest terrorist attack in my lifetime and possibly ever, 9/11, where so many people died. People still go to New York every day. You know, a few months ago, over 100 people died in Paris. People never stopped going there for weekend breaks. In Hurghada, the only people that died were the terrorists, were the people from ISIS. The 4 holidaymakers that were injured, It was minor injuries. Nobody stayed overnight in hospital. So yeah, I wouldn't have a problem going. There's masses of security in Hurghada anyway. You know, almost every hotel, or certainly every hotel I've ever been to, there's always a man with a really big gun on the front door. I've never felt unsafe out there. I love the area, I love the people, and by stopping going, ISIS are winning. Because most of the people in those type of communities rely on holidaymakers to do their living, to make their money. It's the only way they can afford to live, because they do not have a system like we do here in the UK to help us when we're unemployed. So I would go. Not tomorrow, because I don't have any holiday left, but I definitely would go back. I would go this year. I have no problem with that. Walking Dead or Game of Thrones? I really like Walking Dead, but it's Game of Thrones, obviously. I really like Walking Dead. I really like zombie films. I really like zombie programs. Like, I watch Z Nation, which is really cheesy, but it's still good. But my issue with Walking Dead is, if you guys know me, you know I love Andrew Lincoln. Like, I have done since I was, what, 13? But his American accent bugs me. Like, not enough to stop me watching it, but I think he has got such a beautiful British accent. I love his accent in This Life, which is his real one. But yeah, I really enjoy Walking Dead. It is one of my favourite shows, but Andrew Lincoln's American accent annoys me a little bit, which ruins the show. So Game of Thrones all the way. Have you ever peed outside? Yes. A, I grew up in the countryside, and B, I've been to Glastonbury more than once. Are you Cornish? Do you agree with Cornish Independence? Yes, I'm Cornish. I was born in Truro, which is the city of Cornwall. For those of you who don't know what Cornish is, it is now, I believe as of 2013, the EU ruled that Cornish is an ethnic minority. It's like being Welsh or Scottish, unlike being, it's different. Like, people can be Cockneys or Geordies. I'm trying to think of another one. Like, if you're a Cockney, are you a Cockney? No, if you're a Cockney, it is the name given to people that are born in a region. I believe you have to be born in the sound of the Bow Bells, which is East London. Whereas if you're Welsh, it is your nationality. And I believe it was 2013, the EU government, Parliament, passed that Cornish was not a slang term for where you lived. It was actually a recognised ethnic minority. And now there are forms, like, especially in our county, like if you get anything from the council and you have to put your nationality, that you can tick that you're Cornish. Whereas if you live in Newcastle, I may be wrong, Elaine, if I'm wrong, let me know, but I'm sure if you're in Newcastle and you get a letter from the council asking you for your nationality, you probably put that you're British. I don't think there is a box to tick to say you're a Geordie, and that's because we are recognised as an ethnic minority. However, there are some purists that would try and tell you that I'm not Cornish because my father is not from Cornwall. My mum is Cornish and her family are all Cornish going back to the time of the Ark, but my dad was from North Yorkshire. And I have once been told, I kind of went, of course I'm Cornish, I was born in Cornwall. And they kind of said, if you were born in a stable, that wouldn't make you a horse. And that's kind of the purest view on it. You need to be 7 generations Cornish before you're Cornish. But in the eyes of the council, in the eyes of the government, in the eyes of my mother, I am Cornish. Do I agree with independence? By that I'm assuming you mean obviously Wales have independence from, and Scotland has some They voted, there was a referendum to make them truly independent, but they weren't. But they've got their own government, and they make their own laws. And Wales have the same thing. There are a lot of people in Cornwall that are fighting for this and pushing for it. I personally don't think. I think it'd be amazing that if we had our own government and our own political party, but I wouldn't want independence. Just because I don't want to go in it too deep, but I don't think as a county we're ready for that. I may be wrong, but I personally would vote no. We get a lot of tourism, we get a lot of funding, and for that we're blessed, but I'm going to sound hideous. There are a lot of people that are very small-minded, and you know, John has had abuse in the past for not being Cornish, coming down here, taking our houses, taking our jobs, taking our maids. My maid, a Cornish maid is a Cornish woman, so I am a Cornish maid. My dad got the same thing. My dad got a lot of abuse, even though he was a war hero and he was a member of local government and he raised money for charities, and you know, he did all this stuff for Cornish families and local families, but there were people that were hideous to him because he wasn't Cornish. I understand a little bit the hostility that people around here have for second homeowners, because obviously it puts the prices up, but I truly believe if you come down here and you live and make your life here, that there's room for you. Yeah, that's kind of all I gotta say about that. Piercings, yes, I have some. I have 2 holes in each lobe. I once had my eyebrow pierced for like 3 days, and I have a nipple pierced. Tattoos, love tattoos. I have one. My only regret with my tattoo is that I went too small. I should have had it made bigger, but I was scared of the pain. Basically, my tattoo is in Cornish. There is a Cornish language. I don't speak it, unfortunately. Not many people do. My mum does. My mum's quite fluent in Cornish, but it's not like in Wales that Welsh is spoken quite openly and frequently in Wales. It's not, Cornish isn't spoken like that in this county, but they are now bringing Cornish lessons into primary schools, so hopefully it will in the future. But yes, it's Cornish. It says, translated is my father, and there are hearts and stars and multicoloured swirls, and it's quite pretty, but I wish I had it made bigger. I want another one. There's multiple ones I want, actually. There's loads. But the one I keep on coming back to is Winter is Coming. I kind of think I want it on my ribs, but I'm not sure. So until I'm 100%, I won't be getting another one, but I will be getting another one. Does John have any piercings or tattoos? No. No, John doesn't like tattoos. He was really against me getting the one I got, but I am a strong, independent woman and I wanted one, so I got one. What do you think of Steph from Celebrity Big Brother? Celebrity Big Brother has now ended, but she was an actress who was cheating on her boyfriend whilst in the Big Brother with a model. She was also very dirty and made some comments about discharge that made me urge. No, I don't like it. I have no time for cheaters. If you fall in love with somebody, that's fine, but have the respect for yourself and your current partner to end things before you move forward. You know, you can't help who you fall in love with, and I agree with that, but give yourself some respect. And I just think she was dirty and skanky, and that's not even going into the whole doing what she did on national TV that her mum can watch. Oh, she was just vile. What do you think of the I can't pronounce it, fad, tempted to declutter? It's this whole thing where your life will be better in a minimalist, clean living. It's like the art of decluttering or something. You must have lots of beauty bits, clothes you're growing out of. Do you love a good sort out? Well, last summer we sold pretty much everything I owned on eBay, well, clothing wise. And if you're on the vlogs, you'll probably have seen that every couple of months I have a great big declutter on beauty products, because obviously I get a lot, be it through beauty boxes or my own purchasing or samples being sent to me. And I always try and, you know, give them, if the colour doesn't work for me, or if it's a red nail polish and I've already got 15 red nail polishes, I give it to my niece or my friend or whoever, so someone has use out of it rather than it goes out of date in my bedroom. So that kind of thing I'm quite good at keeping to a reasonable level. However, myself and John are both hoarders. We have a spare bedroom that you guys have never been in. We have a garage which you guys have never been in. There is no room for our car in that garage. We are hoarders, but it's all sentimental value. Like, I have a lot of things that are my dad's. A lot of things that are my dad's. I have, we have furniture and we have gifts that we were given as wedding presents that are just too big for our current house. Our house is very small. But obviously we don't want to get rid of them. So it's a case of when we have a bigger house, like we have these very expensive lamps that we were given that there's just nowhere for them in this house. We got this beautiful, I think it's a 36-piece dinner service, maybe even bigger. That is gorgeous. But it needs to be displayed. It's the kind of thing that you have in a display cabinet and use at Christmas. We don't even have the place to really store it. John has every rugby team that he's, like, every sport John's ever played in, he has the top still. So rugby, cricket, all of it, golf. John also has quite a lot of signed sporting things that one day we'll have a house with a man room, and you know, it could be displayed. And then obviously John has a massive camera collection, which I would never make him get rid of. I have my Cabbage Patch collection from when I was a kid, which now and again I say, oh, I should sell it, but I think in reality I'm saving it to the day I have a daughter. The same. So yes, in one ways we do have a good sort out quite regularly, but there are a lot of things that we're holding on to. But it's more for when we have a bigger house. What are some of your favourite movies? My favourite film of all time is Human Traffic, but the director's cut, with Danny Dyer and Andrew Lincoln and loads of amazing English actors in. In the main cinema cut, it's more about a Welsh community that take drugs. It's a lot more political in the director's cut, and I like it. I like loads of films. I like everything from like Bridget Jones's Diary to I like Saw, like the Saw movies. I like anything that has Nick Frost in, I like. So yeah, I like pretty much every type of movie. The Big Short I've just seen recently at the cinema was amazing. So I have a real eclectic taste of films. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Bigger house, another dog, and God willing, a couple of little people. When you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up? I really wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write children's books when I was little. My parents sent me to a kind of summer camp thing for it, and that killed my joy. The lessons in the morning were about creativity, and I love that part, but the bits in the afternoon were hideous, and basically I was told I would never pass any exam, let alone be a writer, because my spelling, punctuation, and all of that were atrocious. And you know, I think by the end of the first week I was told I was dyslexic, but my mother was offended by that, and really didn't take it any further, apart from we did a lot of extra work to make sure my spellings was good. But really the only way spellings ever really worked for me was learning a song for a word. I do kind of think I have a mild form of dyslexia, because especially when I'm tired I write B's, D's, G's, P's, Q's the wrong way around. I have been in the past even to mix it up while saying it, but if I'm like fully alert I'm fine. But yeah, my spelling and grammar is atrocious, but you know, I get by. Thanks, Darwin. So yeah, sorry. So I wanted to be a writer and that didn't work. And then I wanted to be a lawyer. Gilly has kind of sprung into life, so he's playing a lot, so yeah. There you go, Gil. Yeah, so then I wanted to be a lawyer and I studied law at college for years, and I passed everything, I'm all qualified, but basically by the time I'd finished the qualification, decided that it really wasn't for me. It wasn't what I wanted to be anymore. What are some of your favourite pastimes and hobbies? YouTube takes a lot of my time up, be that recording or editing or watching other people's, and Darwin and Gilly take a lot of my time up, but that's not a hobby, they're my family. But recently I suppose a hobby has been colouring in. I've got really into colouring in like the last few months. Oh, I do get this question a lot. Why don't you drive? Just wondering. Why don't you learn to drive? Basically, I don't learn to drive. Why don't I learn to drive? I probably should. I didn't. When I was younger, I had fits. I don't know if that's the correct term. I was once told that was an offensive word to use, but when I was little, that's what the doctors called it. Seizures, whatever. When I was younger, I had fits. In this country, you are not allowed to drive until you've gone a certain amount of years without having a fit. So when all my friends learnt when I was like 17, I wasn't allowed to. And by the time I was legally allowed to, I was already engaged and living with John and very used to having a very handsome chauffeur for every driving requirement. On top of that, I do think I'd be a very bad driver. I have a very short attention span. I can't walk, talk and eat at the same time. Like if you're walking down the street or if you're walking down the beach, you're having a chat and you're eating an ice cream, I will trip over myself, I will drop that ice cream down myself. I just don't have the hand-eye coordination. And also I would be driving along the street very happily, following all the rules, and then I'd probably see a puppy and end up causing a big car accident. So that's why I don't drive and why I haven't learnt. Do you have a cleaning routine or organising routine? No. Yeah, kind of. Basically, me and John kind of try and share the cleaning as much as possible. We have 2 dogs, so we have to hoover quite regularly. We have to dust quite regularly. I'm always worried on vlogs that the place looks like we haven't dusted in about 10 years, but we literally do dust like every other day, if not every 3rd day. But because we have a white and a blonde dog, and we have a lot of furniture, it can look dusty, but it's just literally because dogs mold. We're very good at rotating food and organisation that way. Like I write all the dates down of everything when we have the food shopping delivered. John always helps me to go through the cupboards to check the dates on the tins and stuff. I can't reach the top, and obviously John's super tall. So yeah, we're good at points, but there are points we could be better at, I suppose. But it kind of works because we both have quite full-on jobs. Obviously, if I was like a housewife or something, like my mum was and my eldest sister is, I would like to think I'd be much more on top of it, like they are. Like they both had very immaculate houses. So I'd like to think if I had more time I'd be like that. But as somebody that works a lot of hours, I think we're relatively good at it. My actual question is, do you like the Cornish myths and legends? If yes, which one is your favourite? My favourite one is, I think it's more of a Celtic one than a Cornish one. There's something, if you've seen the film Braveheart, there's something in that that's kind of adapted from the myth. Basically, back in the day, you needed permission from the village elders to get married. And when the English came and took over, because us Cornish used to be some wild, like the wildlings in Game of Thrones, we were kind of savages, I suppose, to civilised English country life. And obviously the English came, like they did to all the Celtic areas, they did it to Scotland, they did it to Wales, they tried to take over. Bear with me, Gilly wants to go outside. So the English came to take over, and so you had to get the English lord's permission to, like the lord of that area, you had to get his permission to get married. And some of them, not all of them, some of them there used to be this right that they could take the bride's first night, take her maidenhead on the first night of the wedding. Basically, it was an English ploy to kind of breed the Celts out. So they did it in Scotland, they did it in Wales, I'm sure they did it in Ireland, they did it in Cornwall, and it was obviously try and get her pregnant on the first night of the wedding, so her baby wouldn't be Cornish, it'd be English, blah blah blah. So people would get married in secret. Then what would happen if they ever got caught that they were found that they got married in secret? I'm sorry, the boys are barking outside. If they got caught that they'd got married in secret, or they got found out, each lord would have a witch or a wizard, like a Merlin type thing, and he would turn them into trees. And they would purposely make sure they were either side of the road or the lane, because they didn't have roads back then, so either side of the lane. So for the rest of creation, because trees obviously live a very long time, they would have to watch each other grow and get old, but never be able to be with each other because they were they couldn't communicate. The way the story goes is that as the time went on, the trees would grow big and strong and tall, and then they would eventually, as they got over the lane and as they got bigger, the trees would entwine. And that's when you drive down these beautiful lanes and there's like a little, I don't know the right word, where you see all these trees and they're kind of overlapped, and it's basically the lovers' branches of their arms and hands and fingers entwining and being together again, because true love always wins. And that's a very long version and a rambly version of my favourite Cornish myth. Favourite TV show, Game of Thrones. Is the best TV programme I've ever watched in my life. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it. It is amazing. I'm House Stark all the way. Ned Stark, favourite character. Rest in peace. Second favourite, Jon Snow, because he knows some things. Who is your favourite big vlogger? Oh, I have a few. I love the Mitchellacs. They are amazing. Their vlogs are like movies. They are beautiful. The first ever vlogger I ever subscribed to was It's Judy's Life, so Judy Travis. She's an American vlogger. She's got 3 daughters and a husband, Benji, and I love their show. She was the first vlogger I ever subscribed to, and I still watch her all these years later. And Fleur de Force. Fleur de Force, like, if I'm going to go for British YouTubers that have over 1 million subscribers, say, Fleur de Force is my favourite. I know some people don't like her because she's wealthy or whatever, but I think I like her. I like Mike. When her dog died, when Woof, her dog died, I sobbed. So yeah, that's my favourite 3. If you could quit your job and start your own business, what would you love to do? See, I don't know if I would. Basically because self-employed people have to work hard. Like, my job's hard and I work to my full ability, but self-employed people have to work even harder because they don't have a business, like, there's not a corporation to fall back on that saves them. Like, obviously John's self-employed and he works so hard, and there's so much more pressure on him because obviously he's got staff, and it's not just him and me that he's making sure we're okay, it's making sure his staff are okay. Like, financially, it's like there's a lot more responsibility. Righty or lefty? I'm actually ambidextrous. I can write with both hands. I'm left-handed, but the primary school I went to, you weren't allowed to write with your left hand, so they used to make you sit on your left hand and write with your right, which means I can write with both. Actually, my handwriting is neater with my right hand. However, I am left-handed. I eat the wrong way round. I braid left-handed, like it's a stronger hand, and I really struggle with right-handed can openers, but a left-handed one I can do perfectly. Do you like cats? I don't dislike them. Like, I would never own a cat. I'm not a cat person. I am a dog person. Darwin and Gilly both have high prey drives, and as such would not like to share their house with a cat. Yeah, I wouldn't hurt one, but I don't want to own one. Cats always want to sit on me and dig their claws in my thighs, and there's just something about owning an animal that's allowed to go and poo wherever it wants. I just sometimes feel that cats don't love you as much as dogs do. But everyone's different. Just because you love cats and I don't, doesn't mean we can't get on. What's your favourite song? I have two. Full Fat by Newton Faulkner and Baz Luhrmann's Wear Sunscreen. Summer or winter? Clearly it's going to be winter because that's when Christmas is, and Christmas is my favourite thing of all. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, share, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye guys.